Julie Blanner from the lifestyle website, julieblanner.com, where I share easy ideas for entertaining, home decor that blends function and design, and recipes. Today, I am sharing one of my very, very favorite concepts with you. And so I hope you're just as passionate about it as I am. 8 easy ways to add light to a room. I know it might sound simple, but sometimes the simplest things yield the best reward. You've seen me put these to use, whether you know it or not, in every single space that I've designed. They're subtle, but so effective and can make a really huge impact. Adding light to a room not only makes a room feel lighter and brighter, which you know I love so much, and just even more cheerful, but it also makes a space feel larger. So I hope you enjoy these 7 tips, and if you have any to add, of course, leave them in the comments below. I love hearing from you. And don't forget to click subscribe and ring the bell so you're notified every time I share a new video. Now you've seen these tips used in every room, and it's what takes a room from this to this. This particular home was extremely dark when we first purchased it, and there's a number of reasons why. The first reason I was so excited to take control of because it didn't cost a dime, and that's removing screens. Now I know that might not apply to all. It might not be feasible if you're worried, if you like to keep your windows open and you're worried about bugs coming in and things like that. But if possible, if you don't open your windows often or if you're not allergy prone, I highly recommend it. A screen filters the light. It adds that little extra dark color that really kind of takes away light in the room. So removing screens are a quick and easy and of course free way to add light to any space in your home or your entire home. The same thing applies to storm windows. Storm windows also add just an additional layer that often adds a layer of dust and dirt and grime, a little film. So if you have storm windows, you might want to consider removing those as well. Now my second tip that's tried and true is removing blinds. I know it might not, again, be for you. But if you're really looking to add light to a space, removing your blinds can really open it up and take it from dark to bright in an instant. Whether you notice it or not, you'll notice the difference between this and this. It's funny how they seem to just kind of fade to the background until you see that side-by-side comparison. When you add blinds, you're almost always taking away some of the light even when they're open, by blocking it at the top. When they are filtered open, you're still reducing the light, and of course when they're closed, you're completely negating the light altogether. If you don't need them, consider eliminating them. We did that in our breakfast room here in St. Louis. A couple other spaces, and in the living room and kitchen at the Lake Cottage. And wow, what a difference it makes for those spaces that don't really need them. As much as I love plantation shutters, they are a light blocker. So that's another thing to consider, especially if you're considering getting them. So another tip, while we're still talking window treatments, my third way to add light to a space is to rethink your curtains. No, you don't have to get rid of them altogether. You just need to adjust them. You want to make sure that your curtain panels are adjusted over as far to the left and right as possible while still kind of capturing that last inch of the window. That way it doesn't block the light, it looks very tailored and beautiful, but allows the light to come on in. Make sure the curtain rod extends well past the width of the window, so just an inch or so of it hits the window, making it appear larger and not blocking any light. You can get my tips and tricks for hanging curtains in the link in the description below. If you've been following along here on YouTube, you already know my 4th tip. Paint. Gosh, paint does wonders, doesn't it? But not just any paint. It doesn't even have to be a light colored paint. But what you're looking for is a paint with a high LRV, light reflective value. Also something with an eggshell, satin, semi-gloss, or gloss. The higher the sheen, the more light it reflects. And that makes a really, really big difference. Something else to note is that even the way you paint can change how much light it reflects. If you spray it on, it gives a nice seamless finish and it reflects a little bit better, in my personal opinion. You'll see that here in our kitchen in St. Louis. Now, my fifth tried and true tip is, of course, to add or replace light fixtures. It's one of my favorite things to do. Of course, you can always add can lighting if you'd like. I'm not a huge fan of cottage cheese lighting, as I like to call it. We do have it in a couple areas of our home that was existing, but on spaces that we're renovating other than our basement, we're not using it. However, of course, it's another great light source, but you can use several forms of lighting. There's, of course, overhead, there's task, there's ambient, and natural lighting. So any lighting that you can add always helps. When we first moved into our home, we replaced all of the light fixtures indoor and out, and that made such a significant difference. Some things you might want to consider when selecting a light is not selecting something with a canopy on top, which will block the light, selecting something that is largely open or glass. I had a pendant light at our home in Kansas that I absolutely loved when I purchased it, but I learned a really valuable design lesson. It only shines the light down below it and on the floor, so it casts shadows on the ceiling, just kind of making it feel dark and gloomy most of the day. So if you are using a light like that, then you want to pair it with some can lighting or alternative lighting on your ceiling as well. Now, we can get away with that here in the kitchen because we have additional lighting and multiple lights with the lanterns. Of course, clear glass transmits more light than anything else, and the lighter and brighter you go, the more lighting you have, the lighter and brighter your home will be. Pretty simple, right? Now, my next tip, dusting or replacing your light bulbs. Again, so simple, right? Well, it doesn't always feel that way. Shopping for light bulbs anymore can feel a little bit daunting. There's warm whites, there's soft whites. What do you do? Clear, frosted. I really, really, really need to do a blog post and video about it, and it's on my list, I promise. But selecting some nice, I like warm lights. I tend to go clear versus frosted. It makes a room feel really bright. Of course, when they're dusty, they're not filtering as much light out, so always make sure they're clean as well. I could not be more excited to implement tip number 7 here in St. Louis. And that's replacing the door. Our door right now is dark and it has stained glass and it's already on a covered porch, so it's letting virtually no light in and makes our foyer feel very dark, small, gloomy. When we lived in Kansas, we replaced our door with glass panel door, and it looked so nice and bright and made the entryway look completely different. Instead of casting shadows, it was casting light, and you could see it through all the spaces nearby, not just the foyer, but the dining room, the hearth room, the living room. It just made everything flow so much nicer, so I can't wait to do that. And at the Lake Cottage, you may know that we replaced our door with a Dutch door, which of course lets in ample light and makes it feel light and bright and so beautiful. And finally, my 8th tip is to add a mirror. Mirrors reflect light and immediately make a room feel larger and, of course, once again, brighter. So the mirror is a really great way. We'll use my entryway again as an example. I just added a mirror there because it feels so dark and I wanted to brighten it up, and it reflects the light coming in from the living room, the dining room, and even from behind. It really brightens a space and is such a quick and easy fix. I hope you enjoy these tips of 8 easy ways to add light to a room, and I'd love to see you again soon. If you have any additional tips, please leave them in the description below. I would love to hear from you.